The battle had already turned against the humans. Explosions rocked the outer rim of the sector, lighting up the dark void of space like a violent fireworks show. Captain Ryland stood on the bridge of the human flagship, gripping the railing tightly. His knuckles were white and his jaw was tight. Around him, crew members ran back and forth, shouting orders and reporting damages. The fleet had fought bravely, but the enemy numbers were overwhelming. Ships were falling one after another, metal torn apart by alien lasers. Smoke and sparks filled the corridors, and the constant vibrations from explosions made it hard to stand straight. Ryland's eyes darted to the massive holographic display in the center of the bridge. Red markers flashed across the screen. Enemy ships advancing, closing on the humans from every side. It was chaos. For the first time in his career, Ryland felt a cold dread creeping over him. He had fought in many battles, but never like this. Never had the humans been so outnumbered, so outmatched. Status report. Ryland shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. Lieutenant Mara, his second-in-command, quickly stepped forward. Her uniform was scorched in places, and blood smeared her cheek. Captain, we've lost 5 of the outer defense ships in the last 2 minutes. The alien armada is pushing in from every angle. We can't hold them for much longer. Ryland clenched his teeth. He knew she was right. Every tactical plan they had made seemed useless against this overwhelming force. The aliens fought with precision, almost as if they knew the humans' every move before it happened. Any word from command? Ryland asked, though he already suspected the answer. Mara shook her head. No, the comms are down. We're completely cut off. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The crew members continued their work, but the hopelessness was palpable. Even the youngest cadets could sense that something terrible was about to happen. Then came the sound that made everyone stop. A low, rhythmic hum. Not from the ship's engines, not from weapons. Something else. Something vast. What is that? Whispered Cadet, his voice trembling. Ryland's eyes narrowed. I don't know, but it's coming from outside. The bridge crew rushed to the observation windows. Through the shattered viewports, they saw a small flicker of light far in the distance. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. A ship? No. Something bigger, glowing faintly, moving with speed and purpose. The alien fleet seemed to notice it too. For the first time, Ryland noticed something strange. The enemy ships weren't attacking that glowing object. They slowed, hesitated, almost fearful. What is that? Ryland muttered again, more to himself this time. Mara's eyes widened. It looks like nothing we've ever fought, and they're afraid of it. Ryland's mind raced. Could it be a trick? Some new alien weapon? Or something else entirely? The flicker of light grew larger, moving closer to the battlefield. The crew held their breath. Sparks flew as a human flagship shook under another direct hit from an enemy cruiser. But all eyes were fixed on the mysterious force. Then, in a moment that seemed suspended in time, the object revealed itself. Ships, enormous, ancient, and powerful, emerged from the dark. They moved with precision, their hulls glowing faintly like molten silver. No human had ever seen such technology. The enemy ships backed away, firing nervously, but nothing seemed to touch the newcomers. Ryland felt his heart pounding in his chest. Could these be allies? He had heard legends, whispers among the fleet, of a species so powerful that even the most aggressive aliens avoided them. But no one had ever seen them in battle. The captain's mind raced. If they are who I think they are, this changes everything. Mara looked at him, her eyes wide. Do we signal them? Or do we wait? Ryland shook his head. We have no choice. We must wait and see what they do. The mysterious ships moved with purpose. They didn't attack randomly. They went straight for the enemy armada. The alien ships tried to fight back, but every strike was deflected, their weapons useless. The humans watched in awe as the tide of battle slowly began to shift. For the first time in hours, there was hope. Still, Ryland knew better than to celebrate too soon. He had seen too many battles turn in a single, tragic moment. One wrong move, and the humans would be destroyed before the mysterious allies even engaged. The hum grew louder, almost deafening now, filling the flagship with a strange vibration. Crew members covered their ears, but Ryland stood firm, watching every move of the newcomers. Suddenly, the alien fleet started to retreat. Red markers on a holographic display blinked rapidly, showing enemy ships falling back, confused and terrified. The humans had not launched a single counterattack yet, but fear alone was enough to make the aliens falter. Mara's voice broke through the tension. "Captain, they're pulling back. They're actually pulling back." Rylan allowed himself a small nod. Not for long, but it's enough for now. As the humans regrouped, Ryland's mind turned to the mysterious species. Who were they? Why had they come? And most importantly, would they stay or disappear as suddenly as they had appeared? The crew scrambled to repair their ships and regroup their formations. Every second counted. Every ship saved could make the difference between survival and annihilation. Through the observation windows, the glowing ships hovered above the battlefield. Their size was staggering, their presence commanding. Even the bravest of human soldiers felt a strange mixture of awe and fear. They were witnessing something historic, something that would be remembered for generations. If they survived, Ryland's thoughts drifted briefly to the stories he had heard as a child. Tales of a species feared across galaxies, known only in whispers and old logs. Legend said they were unstoppable in battle, but they never took sides. And now, here they were on the human side. Somehow, but legends also warned that power like this came at a price. Ryland knew he could not trust blindly. The humans had to remain cautious, ready for anything. As he gave orders to his crew, Ryland couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The battle was far from over. The aliens might retreat for now, but they would return. And when they did, would the mysterious species stand with the humans again, or vanish into the darkness? Even as the human fleet slowly stabilized, the captain's mind was already planning the next steps. Every repair, every maneuver, every strategy had to be precise. They had been given a gift, a chance to survive, but it would not last if they wasted it. The unexpected turning point had arrived. The humans had been on the brink of destruction, and now hope had returned in the form of a species everyone feared. But hope was fragile. Victory was not yet theirs. And deep in the shadows of space, the aliens watched the glowing ships with fear they had never known. For the first time, the humans had a chance to fight back. The battle was lost, but not yet forgotten. The tides of war were changing, and no one could predict what would happen next. Ryland's eyes narrowed. A mixture of determination and caution etched on his face. "We survived today," he whispered, "and tomorrow we make them regret ever coming here." The bridge was quiet for a moment, the hum of the mysterious ships filling the void. The crew worked feverishly, repairing damages, preparing weapons, and holding their breath for the next wave. They had been given a chance, one that could not be wasted. And somewhere beyond the stars, the one species everyone feared watched silently, their intentions unknown, their power undeniable. The humans had witnessed the unexpected turning point. The war had just shifted, but in ways no one could yet understand. The battlefield was quiet for the first time in hours. The hum of the mysterious ships lingered in the void, a constant reminder that the humans were no longer alone. Captain Ryland paced the bridge, his mind racing. The human fleet had survived against impossible odds, but the threat had not disappeared. The aliens had retreated for now, but they would return stronger, more furious. Lieutenant Mara approached cautiously, her uniform still scorched from the earlier explosions. "Captain, the fleet is stabilized for the moment, but our losses are severe. We cannot hold another attack like that." Ryland stopped pacing and looked at her. "I know. That's why we need a plan that goes beyond just fighting. We need something different." Mara raised an eyebrow. "Different how?" "We have no reinforcements. No backup. And the mysterious ships, we don't even know who or what they are. How can we base a plan on that?" Ryland's eyes narrowed. He had thought about this for hours. Legends of the feared species were old, almost forgotten. They were creatures of immense power, beings that even the most brutal alien empires avoided. But the humans had never interacted with them directly. Their intervention in the battle had been sudden and unexplainable. "We need to call them again," Ryland said, his voice firm. "We have no choice. They are the only ones who can turn the tide completely in our favor. But we must be careful. We cannot simply ask for help like a desperate child." Mara frowned. "And how do you suggest we do that? They appeared without warning. How do we contact beings who exist in legends?" Ryland took a deep breath. "There is an ancient protocol, a hidden channel that few in command even know about. It is designed to reach species outside known space, species considered untouchable. If we use it, we might be able to communicate with them directly." Mara's eyes widened. "You're talking about the Codex of Forgotten Alliances. That hasn't been used in centuries. It's dangerous." "Everything about this is dangerous," Ryland said. "But if we don't try, the humans will be wiped out. I've seen their numbers. I've seen what our fleet has become. We can't win this on our own." The crew on the bridge exchanged uneasy glances. The Codex was more than just a communication protocol. It was a pact, a set of ancient rules written when humans were younger, weaker, and desperate. It had never been tested in modern times. Using it meant risking everything. Ryland turned back to the holographic display. Red markers still dotted the map where enemy forces lurked, waiting for a chance to strike again. He traced the path of the mysterious ships from earlier. They had hovered the edge of the battlefield, observing silently, their power undeniable. "We don't know why they helped us," he said quietly. "They could disappear at any moment. We have to convince them to fight with us. And to do that, we need to show them something. Something only humans can offer." Mara tilted her head. "And what is that?" "Courage," Ryland said. "We must prove that humanity is worth their attention, that our fight is not just a distraction, but a struggle that matters in the greater scheme of the galaxy. We need a signal, one that is impossible to ignore." He tapped the console, bringing up a detailed map of the sector. Several derelict ships floated silently in the void, remnants of old battles. Ryland pointed to one. "We'll use the largest surviving cruiser. It's damaged, but it still has enough energy to act as a beacon. We will combine its power with the Codex protocol. The signal will reach the species, and they will see the humans are worthy." Mara's eyes narrowed. "And if they don't respond?" Ryland shook his head. "We can't think like that. We have no other options." The crew worked quickly, preparing the cruiser for its new role. Engineers ran to the corridors, repairing circuits, rerouting energy cores, and calibrating ancient transmitters. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the smell of burnt metal filled the air. It was chaotic, but focused chaos. Every human knew that failure meant death, but for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope in their eyes. As the preparations continued, Ryland called a meeting with the senior officers. "Listen carefully," he began. "This plan is risky. It could fail, but if it works, we have a chance to change the course of this war. We are not just fighting for survival anymore. We are fighting for humanity's place in the galaxy. And to do that, we must show courage, unity, and resolve." The officers nodded, their faces set with determination. They understood the stakes. Every word from the captain carried weight. There was no room for doubt, no room for fear, only action. Meanwhile, outside the ships, the alien fleet was regrouping. They were furious, but confused. Something had disrupted their advance, something they had not anticipated. Their sensors had detected the mysterious ships, but they could not comprehend their origin or purpose. Panic rippled through their ranks, and orders were given to pull back temporarily. Back on the human flagship, the engineers finally completed the preparations. The cruiser, designated Aurora, now pulsed with a faint blue light. Energy cores hummed, antennas extended, and the ancient Codex transmitter flickered to life. It was ready. Ryland took a deep breath and pressed the activation sequence. The hum of the cruiser grew louder, resonating through the void like a heartbeat. The signal began to pulse, carrying a message encoded in patterns that only the legendary species could understand. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. The crew watched the display nervously. Red markers still dotted the map, enemy ships lurking in the distance. The humans were still outnumbered. The tension was unbearable. Then, a flicker of light appeared in the distance. Small at first, almost like a star blinking. But it grew quickly, moving toward a human fleet with speed and purpose. The crew held their breath. Could it be them? As the light approached, it became clear that it was not one ship, but many. Massive vessels, glowing faintly with the same power as before, moved in formation. The legendary species had received the call. The bridge erupted in whispers and murmurs. Some crew members knelt in awe. Others stared in disbelief. Ryland stood firm, his eyes locked on the approaching ships. "They came," he said quietly. "They actually came." Mara's eyes were wide with astonishment. "I can't believe it. They came for us." But even as relief washed over the humans, Ryland remained cautious. The species had arrived, but they were not human allies. Their intentions were still unknown. They could destroy the alien fleet, yes, but they could also turn on humans if they saw fit. The alien armada noticed the newcomers too. Confusion and fear spread rapidly. Ships fired randomly, some retreating, others attempting to regroup, but every attack was met with resistance. The mysterious species moved with precision, dismantling enemy ships with ease. It was clear they were not just powerful, they were calculating, strategic, and ruthless. Ryland knew he had only bought time. The humans needed to act quickly. He turned to Mara. "We have one chance. We must coordinate with them, carefully. Any mistake could be catastrophic." Mara nodded. "How do we communicate? They don't speak any language we know." Ryland shook his head. "We don't. Not yet. But they can understand patterns, symbols, energy pulses, behavior. We must demonstrate that we are allies, that we fight for a cause that matters." The humans began to move their ships into formation, following the lead of the mysterious species. They mirrored their movements, staying close but careful not to interfere. It was a delicate dance. One mistake, and the humans could be seen as hostile. Minutes stretched into hours. The humans and the legendary species worked together silently, without words, without direct communication, but with perfect coordination. Slowly, the tide of battle shifted. The alien armada, once so confident and overwhelming, began to falter. Ryland watched from the bridge, his heart pounding. He had never witnessed anything like this. The humans had been on the brink of extinction, and now they were part of something larger, something almost mythical. It was terrifying and exhilarating. But even as hope surged, Ryland reminded himself of the dangers. The species had power beyond comprehension, but their motives were unknown. They could help humans survive today. But what about tomorrow? Could humanity rely on them again, or would they vanish as suddenly as they had appeared the first time? The captain knew he could not afford to think of that yet. For now, the focus was clear. Survive, regroup, and prepare for the next move. The secret plan had worked. The call had been answered. But the war was far from over. And deep in the darkness of space, the legendary species watched silently, their glowing vessels hovering above the battlefield. Their eyes, if they had eyes at all, were on the humans. And somewhere, beyond the veil of understanding, a decision was being made. The humans had survived an impossible night. They had called for help, and help had arrived. But the true test was just beginning. The secret plan had succeeded, but its consequences would echo far beyond this battle. The battlefield looked calm, but it was not peace. It was a silence before something massive changed forever. Captain Ryland stood on the bridge, watching the glowing ships of the feared species drift near the human fleet. They moved slowly, almost carefully, as if space itself respected them. No weapons fired, no signals sent, just quiet power. The humans did not cheer. They did not relax. They waited. Ryland knew one thing very clearly. Beings as powerful never arrive without a reason. "Keep all weapons on standby," Ryland said calmly. "No sudden moves. No aggressive scans." "Yes, Captain," Mara replied. Every human ship followed the same rule. Engines low, weapons locked, shield stable. One wrong action could turn these silent allies into unstoppable enemies. Minutes passed. Then something unexpected happened. The human senses began to react, not with warnings, but with patterns. Strange energy waves moved through the fleet, soft but deep, like a slow heartbeat. Consoles flickered. Screens reshaped themselves, symbols appearing and disappearing. The ship was being scanned, but not like any scan humans knew. "Captain," an officer said nervously, "they're inside our systems, but they're not breaking anything." Rylan nodded. "They're studying us." The feared species was not just looking at ships. They were reading humanity itself, its technology, its history, its choices. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge went dark. The lights dimmed. Crew members froze. Then one screen lit up again. Only one. A single symbol appeared. Simple, clean, ancient. No one recognized it. But everyone felt its meaning. "This isn't an attack," Mara whispered. "It's communication." The symbol changed. Now it showed images. Not words. Not sound. Images. The first image was Earth. Blue oceans. Green land. White clouds. The crew gasped softly. The image shifted. Earth burning. Cities destroyed. Ships falling from the sky. Humans running. Then another image. Human fleets standing together. Broken ships protecting smaller ones. Humans refusing to retreat even when defeat was certain. The bridge was silent. The feared species was showing them something important. "They know our story," Rylan said quietly. The images continued. Alien empires rising. Entire species erased. Worlds stripped bare. The same enemy humans were fighting. Strong, cruel, endless. Then the final image appeared. A line dividing space. On one side, chaos, war, destruction. On the other side, silence. The symbol from before appeared again, pulsing slowly. "What does it mean?" someone asked. Rylan understood. "They're asking us a question." Mara turned to him. "What question?" Rylan stared at the screen. "Are we worth saving?" No one spoke. This was not about strength, not about weapons. It was about choice. The feared species did not help weak civilizations. They did not protect cowards. They did not fight pointless wars. They only intervened when a species proved something rare. Resolve. Rylan stepped forward. "Open a response channel," he said. "But Captain," Mara hesitated. "We don't know how to reply." Rylan looked at the damaged fleet, the wounded ships, the exhausted crew. "We reply the only way humans know how." He gave a single order. "All ships, form defensive shield around the damaged cruisers. Prioritize evacuation vessels, even if it exposes us." The crew stared at him. "That will put us in danger," Mara said. "Yes," Rylan replied. "That's the point." Human ships moved immediately, without hesitation. They placed themselves between the weakest ships and open space. Shields flared, hulls cracked, but no one pulled back. The response was clear. Humans protect their own. The feared species watched. Seconds passed. Then something changed. The hum grew deeper. The glowing ships moved closer. And then a voice filled the bridge. Not sound, not words. Meaning. Direct. Heavy. Impossible to ignore. "You stand when defeat is certain." Crew members fell to their knees. Rylan felt pressure in his chest. Not pain, but presence. "You shield the weak when survival demands sacrifice." The voice continued. "You fight not to conquer, but to endure." The screens changed again. This time, the symbol broke apart and reformed into something new. An agreement. Mara's voice shook. "Captain, I think they accepted us." Rylan exhaled slowly. "Yes," he said, "but acceptance has a cost." The feared species spoke again. "This war spreads beyond your sight." Images flooded the screens. More enemy fleets. Hidden worlds. Long-term invasion plans. Humanity was not facing one battle. It was facing extinction. "You called us," the president said. "Now you must choose." The images split. Point one path showed the feared species destroy the enemy completely. Fast, brutal, final. But humans stood aside, watching, learning nothing. The other path showed humans fighting beside them, losing ships, making hard choices, becoming stronger. "Choose," the president demanded. Ryland did not hesitate. "We fight," he said. Not loudly, not proudly. Simply. The presence paused. Then came the reply. "Then you will not be protected." The bridge tensed. "You will be forged." The meaning hit hard. The feared species would not carry humanity. They would push it. The screens went dark again. Then alarm screamed. Enemy fleets were returning. More than before. Stronger. Faster. "They're back!" An officer shouted. Multiple jump points opening. Ryland straightened. "All ships," he ordered. "Battle stations." The feared species moved instantly, but they did not rush forward. They positioned themselves behind the human fleet. Mara's eyes widened. "They're not leading." Ryland understood. "They're watching." This was a test. The enemy attacked with full force. Lasers tore through space. Human shields collapsed. Ships burned. But humans did not break. They adapted. They coordinated. They fought smarter. Ryland watched as human pilots used debris for cover, redirected energy, protected each other with perfect timing. The feared species remained silent. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, when the humans were pushed to the edge, but still standing, the feared species acted. One single pulse. Not a weapon. A correction. Enemy formations collapsed. Their coordination shattered. Fear spread instantly. The enemy fled. Again, but this time they ran in panic. The battlefield fell silent. Human ships drifted, damaged but alive. The feared species began to withdraw. Mara rushed to Ryland. "They're leaving!" Ryland watched the glowing ships fade into the void. "They were never meant to stay," he said. A final message appeared. "You've been seen. You've been judged. You will be tested again." Then they were gone. The hum faded. Only silence remained. Ryland looked at the stars. Humanity had not won, but it had crossed a line. From prey to contender. And somewhere in the dark, the species everyone feared now watched humanity, not with interest, but expectation. The alien empire had never known fear. They had crushed civilizations older than humanity. They had burned stars, erased histories, and turned living worlds into silent dust. Fear was something they caused, not something they felt. Until now, inside the flagship of the alien armada, Supreme Commander Veiltor stared at the tactical display. His four eyes blinked in slow disbelief. The battlefield data made no sense. Human ships were damaged, outnumbered, barely holding together. Yet the humans were still alive. And worse, they were standing. "Explain," Veiltor demanded. His officers stood frozen. No one wanted to speak. Finally, one stepped forward. "Commander," the humans called them. The bridge fell silent. Veiltor's breathing slowed. "The Forbidden Ones?" he asked quietly. "Yes," the officer replied. "The Watchers. The silent judges. The species that does not conquer but decides." Veiltor turned slowly. "Impossible. That species does not answer calls. They observe. They test. They erase threats without warning." "And yet," the officer said, voice shaking, "they appeared." Veiltor remembered ancient warnings etched into Empire archives. Stories told not as myths, but as laws. "If they arrive, you are already late. They did not destroy us," Veiltor muttered. "No," the officer said. "They watched." That was worse. Veiltor clenched his claws. Watching meant measuring. Measuring meant judgment. And judgment meant one thing. Survival was no longer guaranteed. "Pull the fleet back," Veiltor ordered. "Full retreat. Regroup beyond the red zone." The officers stared at him. "Commander, retreat?" one asked. "The humans are weak. Their ships are breaking. We can finish them." Veiltor slammed his claw into the console. "You do not finish prey," he snapped, "when predators are deciding whether you deserve to exist." The fleet obeyed. Across space, alien ships vanished into jump points, fleeing faster than they ever had before. On the human side, Captain Ryland watched the enemy retreat. "They're running," Mara said, disbelief in her voice. "Yes," Ryland replied, "but not from us." He felt it. The shift. Something fundamental had changed. This was no longer a simple war. This was a trial. In the hours that followed, the human fleet repaired what they could. Engineers worked nonstop. Medics moved through corridors filled with wounded soldiers. The cost of survival was visible everywhere. Yet morale was different now. Not joy, not victory, purpose. Ryland gathered the senior officers. "We need to understand something," he said. "The feared species did not save us. They tested us, and the enemy knows it." Mara nodded. "That means the aliens won't attack blindly again." "No," Ryland agreed. "They'll adapt. They'll change tactics. They'll try to prove themselves worthy of survival." One officer frowned. "You think the enemy is being judged too?" Ryland looked at the stars. "Yes," he said quietly, "and that makes them dangerous." Meanwhile, deep within alien territory, panic spread like fire. Empire councils met in secret. Generals argued. Scientists screamed warnings. The feared species had appeared. That alone was catastrophic. But worse, they had not chosen sides. "They are observing both species," one alien scholar warned. "They do not care who wins, only who deserves to continue." The Empire fractured. Some demanded immediate total war, to wipe out humans before judgment fell. Others demanded retreat, to avoid attention. Veil Tor listened to none of them. "They are not gods," he said. "They can be challenged." "But Commander," another protested, "no one has ever challenged them and survived." Veil Tor's eyes burned. "Then we will be the first." He formed a plan, not an attack, a demonstration. If the feared species judged worth, then the Empire would show strength without mercy. Back in human space, warning alarms erupted. Long-range sensors detected movement. Not a fleet, a weapon. Something massive was being prepared far beyond the battlefield. "They're charging something big," Mara said. "Something we've never seen before." Ryland's blood ran cold. "What kind of weapon?" The sensor officer swallowed. "Planet level." Silence gripped the bridge. "They're not aiming at us," Mara realized slowly. Ryland nodded. "They're aiming at Earth." The enemy was making a statement. If humans could not protect their home, they were not worth saving. Ryland activated all channels. "All ships, emergency formation. We move now." "But Captain," an officer protested, "we can't reach Earth in time." Ryland's voice was steady. "Then we die trying." Human ships jumped immediately. Damaged, slow, under-equipped, but united. The enemy weapon activated. A beam formed, dark, heavy, bending space itself. Earth lay in its path. Human crews fought engines beyond limits. Hull screamed. Systems failed. One ship exploded mid-jump. Another lost power. Still, they pushed forward. The feared species watched. Again, as humans placed themselves between destruction and their home, as they chose sacrifice over survival. Seconds before the weapon fired, space shifted. The feared species arrived, not with force, with presence. The weapon froze. The enemy fleet locked in place. Veil Tor felt it. "Judgment. You have shown intent," the presence said. "To erase, not endure." The weapon collapsed in on itself. Silently, Veil Tor screamed as his flagship lost power. "You failed." The presence continued. "You chose fear over balance." Then the humans heard the words they never expected. To the humans, the presence turned. "You chose loss over surrender. You chose protection over escape. You chose each other." The space around Earth stabilized. The enemy fleet was pushed back, not destroyed, but marked. "They will not forget this," Mara whispered. Ryland nodded. "Neither will we." The feared species spoke one final time. "This war will continue. But now, you are no longer invisible." They vanished. The enemy retreated again, this time in silence. Ryland stared at Earth, safe but fragile. Humanity had passed another test. But the war had grown larger, darker, more complex. This was no longer about survival alone. It was about proving again and again, that humanity deserved its future. And somewhere in the vast dark, the species everyone feared was still watching. The universe did not celebrate those who were chosen. It tested them. After Earth was saved, the human fleet did not return as heroes. They returned broken, exhausted, and changed. Ships limped back into orbit. Crews carried scars that could not be treated with medicine. Captain Ryland stood alone in the observation deck, staring at Earth below, blue, peaceful, unaware of how close it had come to ending. Mara joined him quietly. "They're calling us saviors," she said. "The media, the council, everyone." Ryland did not smile. "They should be calling us warned," he replied. Mara frowned. "What do you mean?" Ryland turned to her. "The feared species did not protect us because they liked us. They protected us because they are watching who we become next." Before Mara could respond, alarms echoed through the station. Not battle alarms. Internal. "Captain." An officer's voice came over the channel. "We have unrest in Sector 12. Civilian ships are refusing military orders." Ryland's jaw tightened. The chaos had begun. Across human space, fear spread faster than hope. People had learned the truth, that humanity had been judged by something far greater. Some felt proud. Others felt terrified. On colonies far from Earth, protests erupted. People demanded answers. Why were we chosen? What do they want from us? Are we being trained or replaced? The Human Council was divided. Some leaders wanted to push forward, expand faster, show strength to impress the Watchers. Others wanted to hide, reduce conflict, avoid attention at all costs. Ryland was summoned. The council chamber was tense. Faces filled with stress stared at him. "You led the fleet," one counselor said. "You spoke to them, if that is what we call it. What do they want?" Ryland answered honestly. "They want us to choose who we are," he said. "That's not an answer." Another snapped. "It's the only one I have," Ryland replied calmly. A third counselor leaned forward. "Do you believe they will protect us again?" Ryland shook his head. "No." Silence fell. "They helped when it mattered," Ryland continued. "Next time, they will watch. If we fail, they won't interfere." Fear spread across the chamber. "So, we're on our own," someone whispered. "Yes," Ryland said. That was always the point. Meanwhile, deep within human territory, something dangerous was forming. A faction. They called themselves the Ascendants. They believed humanity should become like the feared species, cold, powerful, unfeeling. They argued that mercy was weakness and sacrifice was waste. If survival is judged, their leader preached, then only power matters. They began seizing ships, hoarding weapons, ignoring council orders. Ryland received the report with dread. "This was inevitable," he said to Mara. "They're afraid," Mara replied. "Fear makes people extreme." "No," Ryland said quietly. "Being chosen does." The feared species had changed humanity, not by action, but by attention. The alien empire noticed the cracks immediately. Commander Veiltor had survived, but barely. His empire was wounded, humiliated, marked, and he was furious. "They protect humans," he growled to his inner council, "because humans entertain them." He formed a new strategy, not invasion, corruption. Alien agents began spreading false signals, fake sightings, forged messages claiming to be from a feared species. Some humans believed them. "Prepare yourselves," the messages said. "Those who obey will ascend. Those who resist will be erased." Chaos followed. Colonies turned on each other. Fleets split loyalties. Ryland watched the reports pile up. "They're using our fear against us," Mara said. "Yes," Ryland replied. "And it's working." Then the worst message arrived. The Ascendants had captured a human research station near a known Watcher zone. "They're trying to force contact," Mara said. Ryland felt cold. "That's suicide." The station transmitted a signal, loud, aggressive, demanding power. The universe responded. Silence. Then, a single Watcher vessel appeared, not glowing, not vast, just present. The ascendants celebrated. "They came," their leader shouted. "We are chosen." Rylan watched the feed helplessly. The feared species did not speak. They did not warn. They did not test. They acted. The station vanished. Not exploded. Erased. Every ship nearby shut down instantly. The message was clear. Demand is not worth sacrifices. Across human space, fear turned into understanding. The Watchers were not mentors. They were mirrors. Rylan addressed humanity. "They do not reward strength," he said. "They reward restraint. They do not follow leaders who demand power. They observe those who protect others without promise." Some listened. Some did not. Veiltor watched with satisfaction. Humanity was tearing itself apart. Perfect. He launched his final move. A coordinated strike, fast, surgical, aimed not at Earth, but at refugee worlds. Places protected only by volunteers. Places Rylan had helped organize. "They're attacking the weak," Mara said in horror. Rylan stood. "All fleets," he ordered. "Move to defend." "But Captain," an officer said, "this leaves Earth exposed." Rylan's answer was immediate. "Then we trust humanity." Human ships moved. They arrived late. Too late for some, but not all. Rylan's fleet placed itself between alien fire and civilian transports. They fought with everything they had. Losses were heavy. No Watchers appeared. Still, humans held the line. Rylan's ship took a direct hit. Power failed. Life support flickered. Mara grabbed him. "We won't survive another strike." Rylan looked at the refugee ships escaping behind them. "Yes," he said, "but they will." As the enemy prepared a killing blow, space shifted. The feared species arrived. Not to save, to witness. They did not stop the battle. They let it continue. Humans fought harder, smarter, together. Only when the enemy crossed the final line, targeting evac ships, did the Watchers act. The alien fleet collapsed. Veiltor's flagship was disabled. The Watchers spoke. "You chose others over self. You chose loss over safety. You chose responsibility." Then they turned to Veiltor. "You chose manipulation. You chose fear. You are unworthy." The alien commander vanished into the void. The battle ended. Rylan's ship barely survived. As medics rushed in, Mara whispered, "They came, but they waited." Rylan nodded weakly. That was a lesson. Humanity had paid the price. Blood, division, loss, but also growth. The feared species disappeared once more, leaving behind a truth that would define humanity forever. Being chosen was not a reward. It was a burden, and the universe would keep watching. The universe did not announce judgment. It simply stopped reacting. After the last battle, no Watcher ships appeared. No signals. No symbols. No presence. Space felt empty in a way that scared even the bravest humans. Captain Rylan noticed it first. "They're gone," he said quietly. Mara looked up from the console. "They always leave." "No," Rylan replied. "This is different. Before, they watched in the dark. Now it feels like we've been left alone." Across human space, sensors showed nothing unusual. No enemy fleets. No Watcher movement. No threats. Just silence. At first, people celebrated. The war is ending. They're leaving us alone. We survived. But Rylan did not celebrate. Silence was never peace. It was waiting. The Human Council called an emergency summit. Fear hid behind forced calm. "They have not appeared in weeks," one leader said. "No tests. No reactions. What does it mean?" Another answered, "Maybe we passed." Rylan shook his head. "They don't work like that," he said. "They don't reward quickly. They don't explain. When they stop watching, it means the final measure has begun." The room fell quiet. "What final measure?" someone asked. Rylan looked around the chamber. "What we do when no one is watching." Meanwhile, the alien empire was not quiet. Without the Watcher's presence, fractured fleets began moving again. Smaller attacks, probes, raids, testing human borders. Nothing large, Yet, they're checking if we've changed, Mara said. Yes, Rylan replied. And if we haven't, they'll finish us. Then came the signal. Not from aliens, not from watchers, from deep space. An automated distress beacon, ancient human-made, forgotten. Origin, the Black Reach. A dead zone. No stars. No resources. No strategic value. Why would anyone go there? Mara asked. Rylan stared at the data. Because no one else would. The message was weak, broken, old, but clear. Civilian convoys stranded. Life support failing. No military value. The council reacted immediately. It's a trap. Too risky. We can't spare ships. Send drones. Rylan stood. If we hesitate, he said, judgment ends. Silence. You don't know that, a counselor argued. Yes, Rylan replied. I do. He turned to Mara. Prepare my ship. Captain. I'm going, he said, with volunteers only. Mara didn't hesitate. Then I'm coming. The mission was not announced. No broadcasts. No glory. 3 ships went. Old. Scarred. Repaired too many times. They entered the Black Reach. Space there felt wrong. Darker. Thicker. Sensors failed. Navigation drifted. The convoy appeared suddenly. Dozens of civilian ships, powerless, drifting. No enemy. No trap. Just people. Children. Families. Colonists. Life support critical, Mara said. Hours at most. Rylan didn't hesitate. Begin evacuation. But Captain, an officer warned, we can't carry them all. Rylan nodded. I know. He opened all channels. This is Captain Rylan. We will take as many as we can. The rest we will stay with. Mara looked at him sharply. You're not saying. I am, Rylan said calmly. The ships docked. Evacuation began. Panic everywhere. Crying. Fear. Human soldiers gave up oxygen packs. Food. Power. Then alien signatures appeared. Small fleet. Fast. This is the test, Mara whispered. Human weapons powered up, but they were outmatched. Captain, the officer said, we need to leave now. Rylan watched the last evac ship depart. We stay, he said. Why? Mara demanded. Because no one else will. The alien ships approached. They did not fire. They scanned, then transmitted. Withdraw. The alien commander said, leave the civilians. We will spare your ships. Rylan responded immediately. No. The alien paused. You choose extinction? Rylan answered calmly. We choose responsibility. The alien fleet powered weapons. Then, everything stopped. Time did not freeze. Space did. The Watchers arrived. Not in force. In totality. They filled the Black Reach, not as ships, but as presence. The aliens shut down instantly. Human systems followed, but gently, like a hand lowering a weapon. The Watchers spoke. This is a final measure. Images surrounded Rylan. Every choice humanity had made since first contact. Every retreat. Every sacrifice. Every betrayal. Every moment of courage when no reward followed. You were tested under threat. You were tested under power. You were tested under fear. And now, you are tested under silence. The Watchers turned their attention to Rylan. You came without witness. You came without gain. You came knowing loss. Rylan stood firm. We did what was right, he said, even if no one remembered. The Watchers replied. That answer defined survival. The alien fleet vanished, not destroyed. Removed, the civilians were stabilized. Life support restored. The Watchers spoke one last time. To humanity, you are not harmless. You are not dominant. You are responsible. They paused. That is rare. Then the universe resumed. The Watchers were gone. The Black Reach was empty again. Human systems rebooted. Mara exhaled sharply. They accepted us. Rylan shook his head. No, he said. They finished judging us. When Rylan returned to Earth, there was no celebration, no announcement, only quiet understanding. Humanity would not be protected. Humanity would not be erased. Humanity would be allowed to grow, allowed to fail, allowed to choose. And somewhere beyond space, the universe no longer watched closely, because it trusted what humans would do next. The universe did not change overnight. That was the first lesson humanity learned after judgment ended. There were no gifts from the Watchers, no new technology, no promises of protection, no signs in the sky, just quiet and responsibility. Captain Rylan returned to Earth without ceremony. No crowds waited for him. No speeches were prepared. His ship docked like any other, scarred, patched, tired. That felt right. Mara walked beside him as they stepped onto the station corridor. "So, this is it?" she asked softly. "After everything, this is what we get?" Rylan looked around at the people passing by. Engineers, civilians, children running between adults. Ordinary life. "This is what we keep," he said. Humanity changed slowly after that, not because it was ordered to, but because it remembered. The Council dissolved the old power blocks. Military fleets were reorganized, not for conquest, but response. Borders became less rigid. Aid fleets moved faster than warships ever had. Some called it weakness. Others called it growth. Rylan retired from command soon after, not because he was broken, but because he knew when to step away. Leaders were dangerous when they stayed too long. He moved to a small station near the edge of known space. There, he taught young officers not tactics, but judgment. "Strength is easy," he told them. "Anyone can destroy. What matters is what you protect when no one is forcing you to." Some students listened. Some didn't. That was fine. Humanity was no longer being graded. It was living. Years passed. The alien empire fractured without its leader. Smaller factions tried raids. Each time, humans responded firmly, but never cruelly. Borders were defended. Civilians were shielded. Retreat was allowed. The galaxy noticed. Other species began reaching out, not to challenge, to talk. Trade routes reopened. Shared science projects formed. Old enemies became cautious neighbors. Humanity did not rise as rulers. It became something stranger, reliable. Then, one day, long after the Watchers were thought of as myth again, a signal arrived. Not loud, not dramatic, just a pattern. Mara, now an admiral, recognized it instantly. "They're not back," she said. "This is an observation." "What is it?" an officer asked. Mara smiled faintly. "A warning." The signal showed distant space. A new force. Ancient. Expanding. Not evil. Not good. Uncaring. A cosmic pressure that erased complexity. Life-ending, not violent. The Watchers' final act. They were not coming to help. They were saying goodbye. And saying, "You're ready." The Council met in silence. No panic. No shouting. No pleas to the universe. Only planning. Human fleets moved, not to fight, but to prepare evacuation corridors. Other species were warned. Refuge networks activated. Humanity did not ask, "Will we survive?" It asked, "Who needs us?" Rylan watched the news from his quiet station. Mara contacted him once. "They trusted us," she said. Rylan nodded. "That was the test," he replied. "Not strength, not survival. Trust." As the great pressure moved closer, humanity stood, not alone, but together with others that had helped. When the first worlds were lost, humans mourned. When the line held, humans endured. And when the universe shifted again, slowing, stabilizing, the Watchers never returned. They were never meant to, because humanity had become what they were looking for all along. Not a weapon, not a ruler, but a balance. Years later, children learned about the Watchers in school, not as gods, not as saviors, but as the moment humanity learned who it was. Captain Rylan passed away quietly, surrounded by stars, his final log simple. "We were afraid of being judged. We should have been afraid of who we'd be if no one cared." The galaxy remembered humanity, not for the battles it won, but for the moments it chose others over itself. And somewhere beyond space, beyond time, the universe continued, confident,